Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you are watching me from. It's another Monday evening, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm here for a talk show, Let's Share It, and we're always here every Monday evening at 6 o'clock. I hope you had a nice weekend. I did have one. It was a very busy weekend I had. One of my very close friends, she turned 60, and in spite of all the social distance where we had to do that on Zoom, so we welcomed her into the club in a very grand way. So I had a very exciting weekend. It was restful, but then I had so much to do, but it was a lot of fun. So I thank God. We thank God for His mercies because it's a big thing to clock 60, particularly in good health. So we welcomed her into the club of elders. I mean, how I was also welcomed a couple of years back. So thank God for His mercies. Thank you for tuning in today. It's another Monday, and we're here for a talk show. Let's share it on behalf of our charity listening ears. For the benefit of those who are joining us for the first time today, those who are joining me for the first time today, the charity name is called Listening Ears, and we are based in the Royal Borough of Greenwich in London. We've been around for 14 years, still counting. Woo, in another 2.5 weeks or so, we will clock 14. 14 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my goodness. 14 good years. Thank you, Lord. So it's been 14 years we've been around, and the vision is to provide comfort to those who are hurting, to be there to lend a listening ear to somebody. Maybe the person is isolated, lonely, or they need somebody to talk to if they have things they are dealing with in their lives and they need somebody else to share the burden with them. You know, they say the problem shared is already half solved. And the slogan of our charity is sharing the burden and achieving positive changes. And by the grace of God, that's what we've been doing for the past 14 years. We have three specific areas of passion for our charity. The very first area is about our determination to reduce the level of loneliness and isolation among elderly people in our community. And we do that via some projects that are specifically targeted at elderly people. And the projects are mainly two. Well, it used to be three, but we have merged two into one now. It's the Feel Good Centers, because for that one, we have two centers. We had one at Abbeywood, which runs every Friday, and the second one runs in Thamesmead every Wednesday. We have had to merge the two together now, running them online, but then we still run them on the 2 days, on Wednesdays and on Fridays. We have that session for interactive times. They're able to have a chat, have a laugh. They have their exercise online. They get involved in and participate in physical exercises so that they can get their limbs healthy and keep it moving. So if you know anybody out there over 50 who will want to join to benefit from the fun that our elderly people are having, they are free to join us. You can send an email to help@listeningears.org, or you send an email to feelgoodcenters@gmail.com, and somebody, one of the members of the team, will get back to you. So thank you very much. And then, of course, we also have, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much, my brother. I can see you there. Yes, we also have another project which we call Community Angels, which is also targeted about reducing isolation as well. And that is where we take the service to people in their homes. It's a befriending scheme, a befriending and an outreach scheme. Before the pandemic, we used to recruit volunteers, and then they can go to the houses of the people who need our support, and then they can be a friend. They give them an hour every week, and within the 1 hour, they can decide to have a laugh, have a chat. They can decide to take a stroll if the service user is still in a position to and has the strength to stroll. They could take a walk to the shops. They could decide to watch TV together. They could chat. They could just do whatever catches the fancy and agreement of both of them for the 1 hour, but we will just give the service user 1 hour, which will be actually provided by our volunteer. But because of the pandemic, that has been reduced to telephone befriending. So if you still have people who are lonely and they need somebody to talk to, you can still contact the same email, help@listeningears.org, or feelgoodcenters@gmail.com. One of the members of the team will get in touch with you. And for our elderly projects, before COVID, we used to take them to the seaside once every year. Like I said, I'm always so excited when I talk about the seaside trip we had last year, because it was one of the best we have had in the 13 years that we clocked last year. We went to Brighton. We had a 54-seater coach, which was full, and we went with the help and support and sponsorship of one of our corporate partners, Annington Limited. They actually financed the trip. They paid for the trip. They funded it, and they gave every service user a wonderful treat. They all had fresh fish and chips, and they took us to the ice cream bar. We all had whatever kind of ice cream we wanted. It was beautiful. And like I said, I'm also always saying it, that I always want to make a shout out to Annington Limited to say thank you to them, because at the end of last year, they donated a 17-seater minibus to Listening Ears, which has been very handy, very useful for us during all this time of the pandemic, because we had to use that to take around food packages to our service users. So thank you, Annington. God bless you. God bless your company. God bless all the members of staff. We love you and we appreciate everything that you are doing for us. Now, our second area of passion is about supporting and empowering and nurturing young girls along their journey to womanhood, or to adolescence, if you like. And we do that through the project Rosebud Center for Girls, which also was operating at the Woolwich Dockyard within the YMCA premises before the pandemic. That service also is still ongoing, but we have moved it online. We moved it online since April, since the pandemic started. So all the workshops of the girls are run online. They are delivered online from Tuesdays to Saturdays. Because all the girls go to school, so the workshops from Tuesday to Fridays are delivered at between 5 to 6 p.m. And from on Saturdays, they have their workshop between 11 and 1 o'clock. On Saturdays, it's always a cookery time. So they learn, right now they are doing some baking. So if you have girls between the ages of 9 and 16, please let them join us. They can go on our website, www.rosebudcenter.org. The information is there, and there is an application form that can be downloaded, a registration form, which you need to complete either for your daughter or for your niece or for your granddaughter or the young lady you might want to benefit from the services. Before COVID too, about this time, we will have taken the girls on a residential trip. We used to take them on residential trip for 1 week every year. We couldn't do that this year, obviously, because of the pandemic. But we are trusting God that by summer next year, everything will have settled down. So we'll be able to do another one next year. And can I just say this now, that because of the pandemic, the project, well, all our projects, both the Rosebud Center for Girls and the Feel Good Centers, have organically gone international. So we have service users now who log in from different parts of the world. We have girls who log in from outside the United Kingdom. We have girls who log in from the Netherlands. We have girls who log in from different parts from Nigeria. We have different parts of the world. Girls are logging in. And for our elderly people project, to the Feel Good Centers, people are logging in from different parts of the world. We have people now who log in from America. We have somebody who logs in from Australia every week. Wednesday and Friday, he logs in dedicatedly. As a matter of fact, sometimes he gets there, gets online before people who are even in the United Kingdom. We have those who log in from Nigeria. some of our service users, they traveled just before the COVID and they were locked down. Our service user who is in Australia traveled to Australia and he was locked down in Australia, but then he wasn't going to miss any of that fun. So he logs in from Australia, despite the time difference. Because you see, the 12 o'clock that we start here, I think is about their own midnight or maybe just an hour before midnight. But then he stays awake so that he can log in and still enjoy the fun, enjoy the exercise, participate, say hello to other people and all that. So it's amazing. It's very amazing. We appreciate you and we are not taking it for granted at all. And this is a call out to anybody that you know who is over 50 who want to participate in just keeping fit and then making new friends to come and join us. You see, because of the pandemic, there is a tendency for people to just put on unnecessary weight. And that is not because they want to add on weight, but because, you know what, when you really don't, you are not going out and then you are eating all the time. So there is a tendency to put on weight that we don't need. So, and we are trying to make sure we support that. As a matter of fact, that's part of what I'm talking about tonight, about our health, about our diet, because that's one of the areas that Listeners is very passionate about. I mean, I'm very passionate about that. I tell people that that's my very key area of passion because professionally speaking, I'm a health and lifestyle consultant. So I am very passionate about supporting people to make sure that they take absolute control of their health and do whatever they can to make sure they enjoy their health at the peak, optimum health. That's my passion for everybody. So, and that's also the vision of Listeners. So we support people around that area. So that's why we have the exercises for the elderly people, even online. And it's exciting. I keep saying it because I don't want to take it for granted. I'm excited that my elderly people, the way they are getting around using their Zoom is amazing. It's unbelievable. It was a lot of work when we started because it was difficult, Even me, I was a little old school. I had to, really, just get up and get going. And then I had to really buckle up myself and learn a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have learned on normal circumstances. But because of the given situation, I had no choice. Even if I didn't want to learn, I was left with the responsibility of supporting people who need to learn. So I have no choice. And of course, I can't give what I don't have. So I had to go and get myself learned first, and then I can pass on the knowledge to our service users. So it's been an amazing time. It's been challenging. It's been a little difficult sometimes. But to be honest with you, I'm loving it because it's exciting. We are getting to know so many things, and our service users today are getting to know so many things. I mean, some of them who are in their 80s, ordinarily they wouldn't have been using Zoom. Ordinarily, some of them wouldn't have been using WhatsApp. Many of them are happy and satisfied with their landline. I mean, they don't have any reason to look for something else. But you see, because of the given circumstances, they had no choice. They had to flow with the times. And in any case, that was the only means of communication that was going around anyway when we were going to start the exercises. So they were kind of compelled to learn how to operate the Zoom. But I'm grateful now. I'm thankful to God for that opportunity of what we would have ordinarily called a problem, which apparently became a kind of a beneficial problem, so to speak, because of course it enabled them to learn what ordinarily they didn't know or they wouldn't have bothered to learn. So it's a kind of, I mean, they've been able to acquire skill and they have been able to learn all these things and it's really lovely. So I thank God for them. Yeah, and then of course our third area of passion is about enlightening and empowering members of our local community to take small steps of change to achieve improved health and total well-being. Just before I continue, I'd like to tell you, if you want to ask me questions today, you can type it into the chat box, or if you want to phone, I give you our number is 07554 655 695. I repeat the number 07554 655 695. So if you want to contribute to whatever we are talking about today, or if you want to ask any question, you are free to call that number. So that's our three areas of passion where we support people. And over the years, those the focus of all the projects we run in the community has been based around these three areas of passion, which of course, like the Rosebud Center I talked about. By the way, Rosebud Center 3 weeks ago clocked 10 years. It's been 10 years we've been running the Girls Center, and we had a celebration. We had a celebration on Zoom on the last Saturday of September, which was beautiful. I want to use this opportunity again to say thank you to all those who joined us online for the celebration. It was beautiful. I mean, I'm so grateful to God. I'm so excited because the number of people I saw that day, if we were doing it live, we probably wouldn't have that many people. And then, of course, we had people from different parts of the world. People logged in from America, they logged in from the Netherlands, they logged in from Australia, they logged in from Nigeria, they logged in from Canada, different areas. So I'm so grateful to God. It was a successful celebration, and I thank everybody, those who have sent us congratulatory messages, those who graced the occasion with their presence, with their time, those who have sent us emails to congratulate us. We are very grateful, and I say a huge thank you to all of you. And so the baby project of Listening Ears is Let's Share It, which is the one we're on today, our talk show. And this is a platform for people to talk about, ask questions, get, kind of a direction, if you like. They say a problem shared is half solved. And like I always say, I'm not an expert, but the little experience and the little knowledge that I've been able to acquire over the years because of the work I do in the community, that's number one. And then, of course, the knowledge and skills I've been able to acquire because of my professional calling, which is around supporting people to take charge of their health. That's the second one. And of course, again, with my little experience as a counselor, we can look at all these issues and we can talk about them. And there are quite a number of questions that I think we will start all the questions next week. We'll start to address them from next week. I just wanted to make sure we had enough of them so that we can once we start, we will just keep on with them. So it's a space and a platform where people can ask questions. So when we bring up a topic, I'll give you the information. Of course, I'll do a lot of research to make sure that the information I am passing across to you is not only useful, but authentic. So I try to do a lot of research, and then I come up with information that I want to pass across to you. And like I said, because I know that some of you listening out there, you are experts. Some of you are doctors, some are nurses, some are nutritionists. So sometimes I might say things that you think you can give even more information. Or if you think I'm not really completely correct, or if you think in one way or the other, like one of my friends always say, if you think I have economized the truth, one of my friends always say that. So if for whatever reason, seriously speaking, if for whatever reason there is some information you think you want to add to what I have given, or you want to correct if it is not right, because I'm open to corrections. Like I said, I'm not a custodian of all the knowledge. I can only give you what I have. And I'm ready, and I'm eager all the time to learn. So if there is anybody out there who wants to share anything with us that will give me the opportunity to learn something new, I'm very happy with it. As a matter of fact, people who are very close to me, they know that one of my very favorite statements is that when you wake up on any given day and you go to sleep at night, and throughout that day, you really can't point to something new that you learned that day, things you didn't know in the morning. and then you now knew it before you went to sleep. If there is any day that you can't really identify something new that you discovered, for me, it's a wasted day. So technically, what I am saying essentially is that life is a school. So we have to be open to learning every day. So I'm open to learning every day. I'm in the school of life. So I keep learning every day. That's the only way we can improve our wisdom, to be honest. So if there is anything that I have shared and you think you have some information to correct it, please don't hesitate to give us a phone call or type in your comment in the chat box, either on YouTube or on Facebook, because we are live both on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and on Facebook. And if for whatever reason you want to watch any of our previous episodes, you can go on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/listening charity. Then you will see both all the editions we have had in the past and different videos of all our projects. They are all there. And I want to quickly point out what not to expect on this show. Obviously, we can chat about almost everything, but then on this platform, we don't discuss politics, we don't discuss religion. We can talk about faith, that's fine. And then we don't talk about ethnicity, because we are very inclusive. We are a very inclusive charity. People don't have to be a Christian to be able to receive support from us. We respect every faith. People have a right to believe in what they believe in. The important thing for us is that, do you have an issue that you want us to share? The only thing is that if there is an issue that you want advice about, because I'm a Christian counselor, I can only give you advice from the Christian perspective. So if that is fine by you, then it's fine by me. And then, of course, we respect people's privacy, so we don't mention names. So we'll also request that if you call in on the phone, that you please don't mention anybody's name, because we don't want to mention anybody's name at all. We are very adherent to data protection guidelines, so we don't want to mention anybody's name. Now, back to our show for today. We've been going on about healthy eating. We started to talk about the Eat Well plate. I was trying to give you a kind of a general guideline on how we can look at what we are eating, what constitutes our plate. That's why it's named Eat Well plate, because there has to be a guide. Because otherwise, if we are just eating anyhow as we like, obviously it is not good for our health, and then we are not going on a wise lane if we are doing that. So that's why the Institute of Health has put together this Eat Well plate, which there is also all sorts of information on the internet. But then I thought, if we talk about it, there's nothing like discussing and interacting and exchanging ideas. Then we can, be able to interact and brainstorm about whatever people might find confusing, and then they can ask their questions, and then they can get clarity about whatever we are talking about. So today we are going to talk about proteins, sugar, fats, and the other areas of the healthy eating plate. So last week and the week before, we already spoke about the carbohydrates and the fruits and vegetables, which of course everybody is aware, and I've told you about different options of how you can have them. You don't have to be overwhelmed by wanting to take 5 fruits a day. I tried to simplify it. We spoke about smoothies, we've spoken about intermittent fasting, we've spoken about so many things. And if you want to look at the things that we have spoken about, like I said, you can go on our YouTube channel and check the previous episodes. So today the first thing we want to talk about today is about milk and dairy foods. And these are things that provide calcium to help us to keep our bones strong. And they're also a good source of protein. And we need to eat some of these foods every day. We need to try two to three small portions. That's of milk and dairy foods. We choose lower fat varieties, such as skimmed milk. I mentioned there was something we were talking about last week, and then I spoke briefly about that. Because you see, if we take the skimmed milk, Particularly if we are trying to watch our weight, if we are trying to lose weight, like I said last week, and I've always said so, I don't believe in all this yo-yo dieting, because when people just think they can lose their weight by magic, it's just not going to work, because you didn't pile it on by magic. So it can't come down by magic. It has to be a deliberate, consistent effort, and you plan it. It has to be a plan program, and you take certain decisions, you take certain steps, and then you are consistent with what you want to do, and you are determined, committed to whatever you have promised yourself to do. And like I was saying last week, so when you take that kind of decision, you kind of gradually take all these decisions and start to change things a little at a time. That's why I said you take small steps of change. Because you see, if you want to do it all in one go, the danger there is that you will feel overwhelmed, and then you wouldn't be able to sustain whatever you have decided to do. So if you want to, like I always say to people, change is the most difficult thing to do in life. And if we want to achieve change, it is always helpful if we find help. If we find somebody to support us to achieve change, it would be nice. So if we want to make a change, for instance, in the way we eat, that's why I said it is always good to get support, because when you are trying to achieve change, it is important to have somebody that will be accountable to, who will put you on your toes, because otherwise change is very difficult, because it means either stopping what you have been doing or changing what you have been doing. And most of the time, it is never in the comfort zone. Because if it is in the comfort zone, you don't even need to be talking about change in the first place. So that means it is going to be naturally difficult. So that means we need help when we want to do change. And that is what we are here for. That's what Listening Ears is here for. We are happy to walk with you along that journey. But like I said, you need to be very gentle on yourself. You don't need to be too hard on yourself. You don't need to knock yourself down because you want to lose weight, because you want to have a change. Because you need to start, when you want to start, you have to start by taking very small steps so that it is easy for you to sustain it. Because if you take, look at somebody who wants to run any of these long races like a marathon. If you take off, you don't start running with all your energy. Because if you do, even if marathon is even too far away, let's talk about running 800 meters or 400 meters, because long sprints, that's what I used to do in my heydays when I was in school. I love that. I never loved the 100-meter dash, because that way it looks like that one needed a lot of energy. And for some reason, don't even ask me, because I don't understand. All I just discovered at that time was that I wasn't good at the 100-meter dash, but with the 400 meters, 800 meters, count on toeing, I was loving it. I was enjoying it, because when you start gradually. You don't, and I remember very well, it is even now as I'm talking that it is crossing my mind, because I used to have a lot of schoolmates. When we want to do the 800 meters, I don't know whether it is ignorance or seriously, I don't even know what their reason is. But what I can remember very well is that when we start, some of them who put in so much energy at the beginning, they'll be sprinting, they'll be running along. But those of us who just take it easy, as if we aren't going anywhere, we just take it easy and we are just, trailing at the back. And then they will be running and running before you. And usually at that time, I think the 800 meters is always about 4 laps around the field. So by the time they have done, in fact, before they finish the second round, trust me, they are exhausted. And then they are like, and that is the time myself and people like me, then we start to gather all our energy. And then it's like we are just waking up. And then we go, before you know what is unfair, we just go on past them. We just go on zooming past them, and they are so tired. They are so exhausted. When you are running, and there are some people when they run. I remember those days very well when we were in secondary school. So if they are running, they will be looking back to see who is trailing behind them. And once they see that person wants to catch up with them, then they increase their speed. So these people that I'm talking about, they have become so tired and so exhausted, they can't even look back, talk less of trying to catch up with you or trying to disallow you from overtaking them, so to speak. So that's how we will overtake them, because we have conserved our energy. So it became easy for us to now get up and keep going. So the same principle is what I am imploring you to do here. If you want to make a change, particularly around your lifestyle, around your eating habit, and around losing or dropping some weight, you don't get too hard on yourself. You don't give yourself challenges or set yourself goals that it is not possible for you to keep and to maintain and to sustain. Because you see, it's not about even starting, it's about sustaining what you have started. So you need to make sure you work it out in a very little achievable chunks of what you can do and what you can keep up with. So part of it, we come back to the point I was saying, talking about the different types of milk. The milk with the one with the blue cap is the full fat milk. The green one, of course, is the semi-skimmed, which to some people is a little bland. But then, like I said, it depends on what your plan is or what your goal is. If you are making a goal towards losing weight, all those little changes you are making, trust me, by the time you accumulate all those little changes and put them together, you'll be amazed at how much results you are going to get. So you can substitute your milk for semi-skimmed or even skimmed milk, although that skimmed milk, some people say is completely bland, that is like having water, but it's up to you. And then again, it depends on how much of weight you actually want to lose, and then it depends on what kind of goal do you want to shed. Then, like I also said, I think I've mentioned something similar last week, that you can also start to do these things gradually. That day, I think I gave an example about us having whole grains. So we spoke about bread, and I was talking about the fact that as much as possible, we should avoid white bread and eat more of wholemeal bread. And I said one of the ways in which I advised that you can avoid being hard on yourself if you want to take a little step at a time is about mixing it, so that when you start, because the wholemeal bread doesn't really taste as nice as the white one, in quotes, because that nice now is relative to whatever is the definition of the person that is speaking. But in terms of, in the context of what we are talking about, so because comparing the white bread to the wholemeal bread, obviously the wholemeal bread wouldn't taste as nice as the white bread. So I suggested that one of the smart ways you can go about it is to have it half and half. Maybe you either go into the shops where they sell the ones they call 50-50 and be buying that instead of the white and instead of the wholemeal, until you can graduate, so to speak, to the point of having only wholemeal. On the other hand, if you buy the white bread and you buy the wholemeal bread, thank God for freezers. You can always freeze it and then take out what you want to eat the day you want to eat it, so that the rest can remain fresh when you keep it in the freezer. So having taken it out, you can take one slice of white bread and one slice of wholemeal and then put in your sandwich filling and you eat them together. So it will allow you to still have the good, so-called good taste of your white bread and then the so-called bland taste of your wholemeal bread. So at the end of the day, you just get creative with whatever you are using to sandwich it. Like I say to people, good food and healthy eating is just about creativity. Because for me, I don't believe in too many rules. If you just get into the kitchen and be creative about stuff, create things that you, as long as you learn the principles of how to eat and cook healthily, that's the most important thing. I don't want you to be too fussy about one rule, what must I cook, what must I not cook. As long as you understand what is healthy for me to eat and what is unhealthy, and then you try to start to make little changes. Just be creative about it and be dynamic. So with that one, get dynamic about your sandwich filling. And trust me, by the time you do that, the taste of the wholemeal bread that you really ordinarily didn't like, you won't even feel it. And before you know what is happening, you'll be able to gradually eat the wholemeal bread without squeezing your face, because of course it will then have taste. So that's a tip for you. And I always say it's good if people put their notes down. So if you want to ask any questions, please feel free. I'll tell you the number again to call is 07554 655 695. If you have any question or you want to contribute to what I am talking about, 07554 655 695. That's the number to call. And then, of course, the next thing we want to talk about is about our fat, the fat we eat in our diet. One of the things I found out when I was doing all my research was that people in the UK, we eat too much fatty food, and that this is one of the things that causes weight gain and high levels of diseases such as heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. I didn't say it, I found it out in my research. And the other thing I want to say is that the total amount of fat we eat is important, but so is the type of fat. Because there are so many types of fat. That is what is called saturated fat, which raises our cholesterol levels in the blood. And eating too many of those foods that are high in saturated fat, they are not good for us. I think last week, I don't remember whether last week or the week before, I tried to explain to you how our blood vessels are clogged by those fat. I said that day that it's like having a kind of a pipe like this, if you can all see me. And then the fat we eat that is unsaturated, they line the walls of our arteries because they cannot digest. So they line the walls of our arteries, and then they reduce the circumference that the arteries have. But ironically, the way God has created the body engine is that the heart has to pump a specific amount of blood all around the body within a 24-hour period. So the heart will still want to do its own work by pumping that quantity of blood. But then the passage is already narrowed because of the saturated fat. So it is compelling the heart to overwork what it should actually do, because it still wants to pump the same quantity of blood through the whole body, and it's finding it really difficult. So that is why it is very crucial for us to stop, to reduce the amount of saturated fat that we eat. As a matter of fact, the earlier we can do it, the better, because you see, the challenge is when we now want to remove it, it is very difficult to, because the thing is, it's like I think the quickest example I can give is our kitchen sink. If we use oil and we pour it down the drain, you know how it's going to line the pipes. It's not something that you will just go away on its own. You probably have to get a plumber to come and pump out all the stuff, or you probably need to get also a lot of hot water to pour it down to. It's just not worth the stress. So, like, all we need to know is that the saturated fat, it raises cholesterol levels in our blood, and eating too much food that is high in saturated fat is not good for us. And I will tell you, in the foods that we find a lot of saturated fat, things like butter, things like meat products and sausages, and then things like cheese, like chocolate, like cakes and biscuits. And all these things, they put you at a very high risk of heart disease. So it is very crucial that we note this. Unsaturated fats can reduce cholesterol levels and provide essential fatty acids that the body needs, because there is still a level of fat that your body needs to be able to function. You need it for your energy. So please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you shouldn't eat fat, but we need to be wise about the kind of fats that we are consuming to make sure that they are not saturated fat. And then when we are cutting down on saturated fat, you need to try to replace them with foods that are rich in unsaturated fat, such as nuts, seeds, oily fish and things like, because if you don't eat fat at all, it is not good either. But then, so it's about just making the right choice of the fat that we want to consume. Now, I'll give you some tips that will help you to reduce fat in your diet and to make sure you are eating the right kind of fat. If you are ready to jot down a few of them, I'll just read them out to you. Number one, you limit how much you eat of high processed foods. Things like biscuits, like cakes, like pastries, like all the meat pies and sausage rolls and all that. Then the chocolate, the crisp, the chips, the pies, the sausages, the burgers, all those ones, they are full of saturated fat. So if you can reduce, I mean, every once in a while you want to kind of, I think the language I use is you want to, and I got it from one of my classes. They say if you want to pig out, every once in a while one might want to pig out, but you cannot be pigging out every day. So every once in a while you want to pig out, that's up to you. But my advice is that you limit the consumption of the list I have just given you as much as possible. Then you can switch to reduced fat spreads. If you go into I think next week, I will try next week. I think we can look at how to read the labels. So if we, by the time I go through that with you, so if you check all this, like all the different butters in the stores, if you check them, because there is this deception sometimes, and I say that without disrespect. Sometimes some of these manufacturers, they deceive us because they don't tell us the truth. All they will just put there in capitals is that it contains less fat. They will never tell you what they replaced the fat with or what they increased, why it is containing less fat. So if we don't understand how to check out all these things, they will just fool us and we wouldn't know. So we'll look at that in another episode of how do you check out what is good for you and what levels in terms of how to read those labels. Then you cut out things like ghee, things like lard and butter. Then if you can reduce the amount of cooking oil you use and measure what you use. A lot of people are used to, when they take their bottle of oil to cook, even though they will say, oh, I have bought the healthy type. I bought what do they always say? Say, I bought olive oil or I bought sunflower oil. But then they just pour the thing. They don't measure it. So the fact that you bought a healthy type of oil still does not mean you have to just use it indiscriminately. You still have to measure, because it is important for you to know how much you are putting in what you are cooking. That's the only way you can weigh whether you are doing it right or you are not doing it right. So it is important to measure what you use rather than just pour it in. Then if you are choosing, you can choose oils like olive oil, like rapeseed oil and vegetable oil. Then another thing I will say again, you should go for options of grilling, either grilling or baking or steaming or poaching instead of frying. As much as possible, if we can reduce our frying, it will go a long way in helping us in a gradual. For instance, and I like to be really practical. I don't just want to tell you to do things that are not workable or are not practicable. I try as much as possible. If you ask people who attend my classes, when I run classes around this healthy eating thing, I try to give you examples of how to practicalize what advice I have given you. For instance, if you are the type who enjoys frying your potatoes, your chips, nothing wrong with that. But the only thing wrong with it is that it is fried. So if you want to get the same taste and the same enjoyment, you can cut your potatoes, steam it a little bit in water so that it tenderizes a little bit, and then drain it in your colander. Then spice it up, maybe with a black pepper, with some coriander powder, different, depending on what you like, maybe some oregano, some thyme, whatever you like. Then you can just spray, the oil spray, you can just spray a little bit of oil so that the seasonings that you have put can stick on it. So you just spray scantily, and then you put the seasonings, and then you shove it in the oven. Trust me, if you try it, apart from the fact that you are preparing it in a healthier way, it is even more delicious than the fried one, because if you put any seasoning on anything and you fry it, it can't remain, the seasoning cannot remain, and it cannot go in it. That's the reality of the matter. So all the seasoning you have put goes back into the oil. So you won't even enjoy the seasoning in the food, and then you are doing yourself a disservice because of the frying. So if you can get the same, if not better taste from the oven, and you get an healthier option, why not if not? So please, I'm appealing to us. One of the things I will advise that we change is reduce our frying. You know what? I used to love plantain. I'll tell you a secret today. I don't know if any of my siblings are watching, but my father gave me a nickname when I was growing up. My father used to call me Iyadodo. Iyadodo means fried plantain mama. I loved fried plantain. I could eat it morning, afternoon, night. I loved it. I still loved it even when I'm much older. But since I learned the principles of healthy eating, you know what I do now? I don't fry my plantain anymore. I don't even remember when last I fried plantain. So what I do, I slice my plantain in big chunks, and then I put it in the oven. In fact, sometimes if I really want to be creative, I spice it. I put some black pepper, put some whatever on my plantain. I don't even need to spray any oil on that one at all. I just spice it up, and then I put it in the oven. Then very lately, I bought something called air fryer. Ah, that thing is lovely. I bought that air fryer. The only thing with the air fryer, it's quite small, but thank God I'm just on my own. Anyway, all my children are grown up. They have all left home now, so it's just me and my ears. Anyway, so I don't really need a big oven to do whatever. If it's just myself, except if I have visitors. So I use that air fryer once I have cut the plantain in slices, and I just arrange it in the air fryer, and I dust a little bit of black pepper. It depends on what I feel like. Sometimes I put some nutmeg. I just eat in a creative way, to be honest. I don't usually like following all sorts of strict recipes or whatever. I just create my own stuff. So I have a lot of Tony recipes that I do. Now, even if you ask me what did you put in, I just do it. I just do it as it crosses my mind, and I have a lot of fun when I'm eating. Anyway, so that's what I do with my plantain, and it's delicious. It's so delicious. It wouldn't even be like what my people call boli, but because it's already in slices. But then because I enjoy the luxury of putting the spices on it, it's just amazing. I think you need to try it. You know what? The taste of the pudding is in the eating. So I think you should try it. So that's another thing we can do. We can start to grill, do more of grilling than of frying. Then another thing that we need to do, you eat small portions of lean meat and trim fat from meat. If we can, as much as possible, we should totally reduce red meat. I'm not advocating that you become a vegetarian, but red meat is not really. If you can find lean meat, fine. But even when it is lean meat, the less of it, the better. So I will advocate that we eat more of the white meat. And when I say white meat, of course, you know what I mean. The chicken, the turkey. And even when we are having the chicken and the turkey, I'm going to tell you, also advocate that you remove the skin. I know that one, a lot of people don't want to hear it. I know there are so many classes that I have run when I run workshops around cooking health in a healthier way and all that. Once I get to that topic, a lot of times, so many people's noses are up. They are like, what? If I remove the skin, what am I going to like? What am I going to enjoy? But you can remove the skin, because the skin is where the saturated fat is hiding. That's the reality of the matter. So if you eat the skin, you are eating the saturated fat. So you remove it. If you don't want it to be dry, what I now do, because people will say, Tony is going to be dry. It doesn't have to. So what I do, and because I told you, I always like to, when I give a counsel of what you should do, I try to support you by explaining the practical ways you can achieve it. So it's not just about a theory, me just telling you what you should do, and I'm not making sure it is practicable. So what you need to do, if you want to grill your chicken or your turkey, and you need to remove the skin, and at the same time you don't want it to be dry, because I agree with you that if the skin is there, it doesn't allow the flesh itself to be dry. Fine. But what you can do, because I am advocating that the skin is not healthy for you. So when you remove the skin of your chicken and your turkey, so what you do all your seasoning, do all the marinating. I always advise people, if you really want to enjoy it, make sure you do it the day before you need it, so that if you have put all the seasoning and all that, then put a cling film around it, put it all in a plastic bowl, put it put a cling film around it, and put it in your fridge overnight, so that every seasoning you have put in there will really sink into the chicken or the turkey. And then when you are going to do it the next day, so what you do, if you put your foil paper in your tray and you arrange the chicken and maybe your baking tin, whatever container you want to use to put in the oven. Once you have put it in there, then you get a foil, and you get cooking foil, because that's another hint. I discovered lately that a lot of times people don't know, and they use the ordinary wrapping foil to cook. It's not ideal. So you should, when you are shopping, you should look on the pack and make sure it says kitchen cooking foil. So you use a cooking foil, you use it over the baking tin or the baking tray. Wrap it enough, put it, lavishly. Put enough that you can tuck it in on the four sides of either the tray or the baking tin. And the reason why you are doing this, so that direct heat does not go into the chicken or the turkey that you want to bake, you want to put in the oven. So you now put it in the oven, and then put your oven in full blast. Because you have covered it in the foil, it will cook. So put it in full blast, let it cook, maybe for about, it depends on what you are cooking, but average of say about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, it will have cooked. And then you now reduce the oven, you reduce the heat, maybe to the barest minimum, and then you can now remove the foil. You'll be surprised that it will turn out so succulent, and it's so delicious. And then, number one, all the ingredients, every herbs and spices that you have used to marinate it, you are going to get a taste of all of them. You are going to have your healthy chicken or healthy turkey without any saturated fat. And above everything, it's going to be finger licking. You are going to enjoy it because it's so succulent, and you will love it so much. Trust me, I want you to try it. Thank you, my sister. I can see you on Facebook. Thank you very much. So I want you guys to try it, and you see what I'm talking about, because you see, we have power in our hands. Like I tell people, it's so hard to make money. And if we are working day and night for money, and we are using it to eat what is going to kill us by installment, it doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it makes me cringe, it makes me feel like crying, particularly when I'm trying to tell people how they can take control of their health, how they can be healthier when the power is in their hands. It's just by making a decision that, you know what, I need to change what I am doing, and there is help. For goodness sake, that's why I'm here. There is help. You can make a call, you can get support, you can get guidance. There is no reason why we should. Sometimes I'm short of words of how to persuade people, because sometimes when people don't want to understand what I'm trying to explain to them, sometimes it makes me feel like crying. Because you see, the problem with unhealthy eating is that it is like killing ourselves gradually by installment, and it's so sad. If we want to, Honestly, I'm sure that everybody listening to me tonight, they see where I'm coming from. Because if power is in your hands to live a healthy life and to enjoy your health, I don't see any reason why, because of, I don't know whether to call it lack of, I'm short of words tonight, to be honest. This is one very unusual day. I'm sure I get so passionate when I'm talking about healthy eating, when I'm talking about, and maybe this is born out of the fact of the level of resistance that I find in people when I run my sessions or when I run workshops, and people find it difficult to adjust with several little things, because I think it's about the mental setting, to be honest. A lot of times, I think people will have believed that it's not possible to do something in a particular way. But I don't agree with I don't come from that school of thought. As far as I'm concerned, there is nothing impossible in life. Absolutely nothing. All we need to do is make an effort. If something does not work, then that means there is another way to do it. I mean, I was telling somebody, well, talking about somebody who tried something and failed. That person who failed is not a failure. It's just that you did something, you made an attempt, and it didn't work out. That means you are on your way to another way that can work out. So if we have been trying something and it is not working, it is important for us to try another means and see how it works. And finally, I want to tell us about cutting down sugar and sugary foods. And sugar does not only mean, as a matter of fact, sugar and salt, I'll probably lump it together because we have only 4 more minutes to go. And it is not just about taking sugar, as in sugar, putting it in your food, or taking salt, as in salt, putting it in your food, but in everything we consume throughout the day. Would you believe the amount of salt that is in your loaf of bread is unbelievable, and the amount of sugar? And you see, the thing is, there is already a limit to how much we are supposed to consume in a day that is healthy for us. If we take the salt, for instance, an adult is only allowed to consume about 6 grams for a whole day, which is just less than a teaspoon. Meanwhile, what we are talking about, yeah, thank you very much. I can see somebody saying that she has cut down on sugar and hidden sugar. Yes, with good results. Thank you very much. That is the thing. So we need to we need to think about all those sugars that we can't see. We can't see them. And if you check all the manufacturers, whatever, all those small prints, they come with all sorts of names. Some might be sucrose, fructose, all what have you. They will have put all sorts. So the specific physical ones that we are now eating, if we can try to avoid it. And I'm going to close on a note that I will say why I believe all these things is possible, but because of our mental setting, which we need to change. And I'll give you an example, which is my own personal experience. And on that note, I'm going to close today. Now, you see, because everybody who knows me, they know that I'm very passionate about healthy eating and the blah, blah, blah. So I went to visit somebody and they were going to bake me tea. I think they had assumed that, oh, Sister T, she wouldn't be taking sugar in her tea. So they didn't put sugar in my tea. And I didn't know because we were busy chatting, the person I went to see, and then they were making the tea. So when they brought the tea to me, I drank the tea. But when I was drinking the tea, I noticed that it tasted differently. But I'm not the type who will complain about anything. I just took the tea. And then later on, even before I left the place, I don't even remember how the story went that I now discovered that they didn't put sugar in the tea. So I now said, no wonder. So there was no sugar. And the person said, Tony, do you take sugar? I said, well, I do. I take one in my tea. Oh, I didn't. I thought you do. Because of all these things you say, so do you still take sugar? And I thought, you know what, I'm still repenting. But I used to take two before I knew all. But now maybe you have it. I'm not actually really a tea drinker, to be honest. But when I have to drink it, maybe I put half a spoon or a very tiny spoon. So, but she assumed I wouldn't even take sugar at all. So I now felt, oh, so that thing without sugar is not really as bad as what I'm talking to you about is a long time ago, before I repented properly. I mean, repented and excuse my language. Anyway, that makes you laugh a little bit. So that's a long time ago. And I now thought, oh, this thing is not as bad as I thought. It can't kill me actually. And since then I knew something, so I can actually take my tea without sugar. So it's a mindset that we just need to challenge. It's not as difficult as we think, but we always assume it's not going to taste nice. It's not going to be, But if we just make an effort, you'll be surprised at how much things we can change just by making up our mind that we are ready for a change because we want to take control of our health. We want to take control of our life. We don't want to work and use our money to be buying things that is going to be killing us by installment. It just doesn't make any sense. And that's where we're going to wrap it up today until next week, Monday. I want to seize this opportunity to still request that we are still trusting God for more partners, more monthly partners. Our partners of our charity are those who support us every month by giving us donation. They set up direct debit for us as little as £5 a month. Like I said, if you give us £1 million, I'm going to clap for you and be grateful. But then we ask for as little as £5. Some give us 5, some give us 10, some give us 15, some give 20, some give 50. Depends on what you have. But we appreciate when it is a consistent giving because you see, the services we render, they are consistent. We are there for our service users every week. Look at the Girls Project, Tuesday to Saturday, we are running the workshops. Staff have to be paid, facilitators have to be paid, and all the other expenses that are there have to be done. And for our service users at the Feel Good Center, we have to run the Zoom sessions for them too. For the exercises on Wednesdays and on Fridays, we have to pay our instructors. We go around we do so many things, and we always need support financially. So I'll appreciate it if you can become a partner of Listening Ears. If you go on our website, listeningears.org, you will find our phone number there. You find our email. The email is help@listeningears.org. You can send us an email at help@listeningears.org, or you send us an email at feelgoodcenters@gmail.com, and somebody will get back to you. One of the staff will get back to you and give you more information. And until that next week, and then don't forget, if you have any girls between the ages of 9 and 16, they can join our workshops online. Tuesday to Friday, it's 5 to 6 o'clock on Zoom. And on Saturdays, they do Cookery Club. Right now, they are doing a lot of baking. Last Saturday, they did a lovely chocolate cake. It was, I loved when I looked at all the Zoom reports that they did at the end of the day. It was beautiful. So it's an opportunity for us to enable our girls to develop all these skills, the skills they will need for their tomorrow. I mean, you want them to grow into, we are talking about healthy eating now. You can only give what you have. If they don't know how to eat healthy or cook healthily, how can they do it for their children? So this is an opportunity, and it is free for them. And then we are, like I said, all our Zoom sessions are now international. So regardless of where you have your nieces, your sisters, or your daughters or granddaughters, wherever you have them all over the world, they can register as long as they are between the ages of 9 and 16. They can register. Go on our website, rosebudcenter.org. You can download the registration form. And if you have elderly people who are on their own, who want to join our exercise sessions Wednesdays and Fridays from 12 o'clock in the afternoon, you can send an email to feelgoodcenters@gmail.com or help@listeningears.org. And until next week, Monday, thank you very much for your time today. God bless you. Bye. Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye. God bless you. Hello, Facebook friends.